Welcome everyone to today's session. My name is Claire. I am the head of projects here at Birchal. We're an equity crowdfunding platform that helps people invest in brands they love. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land of which I am beaming in from. We're based in Cremorne in Richmond, and it is part of the Kulin nation with the Wurundjeri people. And I pay my respects to their elders past, present and future. And I'm very delighted today to be joined by Adam and Ace from the Heapsgood team to talk about their upcoming investment opportunity.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
It's very exciting. We've been overwhelmed by all the expressions of interest. So yeah, really excited to chat to you today.
Amazing. I'm so keen to hear about what you guys are going to present for us today. So for everyone tuning in, a bit of hygiene around the webinar and how we usually run them. So the Heapsgood guys are going to go through their pitch deck and talk about their investment opportunity for the first 15-20 minutes of today's session. And then what we're going to do is open it up to a Q&A where you can ask your questions in the Q&A box down the bottom. And we'll basically go through the questions as they come in and yeah, put them to the guys. Please note that any questions around share price, valuation, rights associated with shares, and some really nitty-gritty details about the investment opportunity will all be included in the offer document, which will be available at the time of investment. So they're great questions that you have, and I know that the Heapsgood team are happy to talk to you about that outside the webinar. But if you've got any questions like that, do send them through, but some of them will be answered in the offer document when it is available. So without further ado, I'll put myself on mute and get rid of my video and pass it over to the Heapsgood guys to run you through the session.
Thanks, Claire.
Thank you, Claire. That's awesome. All right, let's get started.
Cool. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us on this call. We're really pumped to present Heapsgood to you, to give you a bit more insight into the brand, what we've achieved thus far, what our plans are for the future, and how you guys can join along for the journey. So let's get started. So we just want to give you a bit of context, a bit of background on Adam and I. I have a background in e-commerce extending back to 2018. I launched an e-commerce brand called Threadheads, which has since become an 8-figure brand. And then in 2020, Adam and I joined forces. We identified an issue in e-commerce related to packaging, and we brought one product to market that has since become a very popular product and has led to a number of other products being released by us. And Adam?
Yeah, so my background, look, I also have a long history in e-commerce. I was part of one of the early sort of online sort of success stories at a company called Zaz that was competing with Catch of the Day, and eventually got purchased by Kulin in 2014. So that's sort of, I guess, my e-com background. And yeah, started Heapsgood with Ace in 2020, which has been a really exciting journey. And I guess we'll tell you a little bit more about how we started and where we started, and a little bit more of the story.
Yeah, so it was actually in Adam's living room. You can see there on the left, his hallway stacked with parcels. Our first shipment of eco-mailers there, just across the road from Australia Post. We'd walk across and ship out our first eco-mailers to happy customers. It was at the start of COVID when we launched Heapsgood. And so there was a huge surge of demand. It was kind of unexpected, and we quickly needed to migrate to our new warehouse, which you can see center bottom there. And then we just went from strength to strength. We more orders, more customers, just putting a lot of love and attention into every order that we sent out. And yeah, we're still currently in that warehouse.
We are still here. You're talking to us from that warehouse. We will definitely be looking for a bigger space. We've pretty much maxed out that space. We're doing the best with what we've got for now.
Yeah, Astrid, our warehouse manager, is a bit of a Tetris master.
She is amazing and moves things around constantly to make the most of all the space. So.
Yeah, so we wanted to hone in on why we're Heapsgood. What is the brand? We started with just the eco mailer, which was one product, and that was it was what we thought we were in the beginning stages of the business. But quickly we realized there were other issues in e-commerce that were addressable, and that there were solutions out there that hadn't been brought to market. So it was an opportunity for us to look for exciting products that have a few common themes that you'll see. One is that there's proper end-of-life options, so focusing on either recycling or composting. Another is that we look for sustainable materials. There's a focus on trying to find the best materials possible. And then the other is just, I guess, to support e-commerce brands, to help them grow with us. And that's something that we do through a variety of means, not just our products, but our content, and overall how we service those businesses with an essential need for many of them. But at the core of it, we're trying to solve a big problem here, and that's plastic pollution that's created through e-commerce. You can see here, e-commerce generated 1.61 billion kilograms of plastic in 2021. Most of the plastic that exists today was made in the last decade, so this problem is accelerating. And it is actually an existential threat similar to climate change. It doesn't get as much attention, but much of this plastic goes to our landfills. It ends up in our environment and its ecosystems. And it's a real insidious threat that we actually have to deal with as a matter of urgency. So some of the products that we've released are helping address this.
Yeah, look, I'll talk a little bit about the products. I guess that's my bread and butter. And the first product that we released in April 2020 was the Eco Mailer, which is a 100% home compostable mailer. And that was, really exciting. It's a product that's made from corn, and it pretty much is made to replace a plastic poly mailer. From there, we had a good stint of being just a one product store. And then in November 2020, we introduced the Eco Label, which is, I guess, a natural progression because all of our customers were looking for a product that they could stick on their mailers and then also compost. So we developed the Eco Label, which was an Australian first and developed here and manufactured in Australia as well. In January 2021, we came out with Hex Wrap. So that's a bubble wrap replacement. I know a lot of our customers are using it and loving it. And it's a great plastic alternative for bubble wrap. Sorry, paper alternative, non-plastic, I should say. In March 2021, we came out with the thermal printer. And I think the printer was an interesting one. It was a little bit of a move away from sort of the traditional market that we'd been in, but it still is a packing product. And I think what we did that was different, we simplified the process. In the past, thermal printers have been a little bit confusing. The setup was a bit of a mess for people. We made it really, really easy. We provided a setup guide for Mac users and really made it easy for them to do. So that's been a really successful product as well. I'll let you talk about the next one.
Yeah, and now one of our best-selling products, the HE mailing box, made from 99.9% recycled paper, great end-of-life options, both recyclable and compostable, and made in Australia, which has been a focus for us with recent products. We're bringing a lot of manufacturing Definitely. Here in Australia,
wherever possible,
and we think that trend will continue. And then we've just got a bunch of other products that are sort of complementary. They're not core products, but some of them are proving to be really popular. And we haven't really had a miss with any product yet.
Not yet, which is, look, that's very fortunate. Inevitably you will have some products that don't stick. But I think we listen to our customers and really sort of in touch with what they're telling us. And that really guides me on my product journey when I'm searching for products.
Absolutely. And then digital marketing is central to how we've been able to achieve such growth in a short period of time. For 2021, we grew at a rate of 530%. We'll touch on some of those high-level metrics later, but we do digital marketing differently. We have a very big focus on creative testing, on being a bit different and not playing to the tune of a traditional packaging brand, which they're quite boring.
Inherently, packaging has been fairly boring. So we're trying to bring a bit of pizzazz, and I think that shows in sort of our email design. We try to make them really fun and exciting and colourful and fresh, and add a lot of flavour in them. So we definitely want to try and put information in there. We're slowly getting better at that. We plan to hire a copy and content writer, and that will help us a lot with providing a lot more value, blogs, which is something we've done. We really want to help our customers grow, and there's so many different avenues and ways that we can do that with our blogs and emails. So.
Definitely. And email's such a one-to-one channel. So, the feedback we get from our emails, a lot of customers are learning from our email design, from the content we put out. So it's just been a great relationship builder, as well as driving a lot of revenue.
It's really important for us. Email's been a real winner. And look, I think that's a common theme with B2B, but yeah, we're really strong on email.
And then ad creative. There's not too many packaging brands that are good at ad creative, but we've managed to test a lot of different varieties. We've got formats like you can see the one on the right-hand side. It's a comparison between Hex Wrap and Bubble Wrap. We've used that format for a variety of our products, showing the benefits of our products side by side. with their traditional counterpart. That one there has got 1.9 thousand engagements, 248 comments, 124 shares. So we have this capacity sort of to make creative that goes viral.
And that's the key, really. And that's what's happened with a lot of these ones. And that's really accelerated our growth. And it's been a real strong acquisition strategy for us.
Absolutely. We've made all of this content in-house ourselves. You can see, that hex wrap video down the bottom, made by Adam. He's a bit of a wizard with stop motion. Just literally made over there in the warehouse. And then even some of the earlier content was made in his living room. That one of our best performing ads was done there. So yeah, we know the strategy for making creative, and now we want to build that out with a team so we can do it at a larger scale. And then our unboxing experience is quite unique. We get a lot of feedback from our customers, whether it's their first order or their 10th order with Heapsgood. It's a unique experience. It's fun. And we're also like inspiring some of our merchants to do the same. They're transforming their own unboxing experiences, and that's really part of Heapsgood as well, with branding and personalization. So we provide a lot of content on that, but it's also when people get our packages, and
look, we would try to make it fun, as we touched on before. The packaging is inherently boring, so I hope some of you, our customers, are out there watching. I'm sure you are, and I hope you're seeing yourself in these highlights. We really appreciate all the support. It's been great. And then more on the business side of things, some of these metrics are really great for early stage company. A return on ad spend of 4.2, benchmarks in the industry, you're looking at 2 to 3. Average gross profit margin for a B2B business being 41%. And there's so much opportunity through economies of scale and also expanding the product portfolio to increase that. Yeah.
Repeat customer rate, we're trying to acquire a lot of customers, and so we're always like fighting to keep this repeat customer rate down. Honestly, the amount of people that are coming back, we need to continue to grow, and so we're always looking to sit that around between 30 and 40%. The industry benchmark for e-commerce is actually 20%, so we're doing really well in that space. And then average order value, $165. Not many direct to consumer type digital businesses that have an average order value that high. And then conversion rate, 2%, or 2.5% if you're lucky in e-commerce. We're punching at 4.09%, which is really strong. And there's a big focus on the user experience of our website. Search. So organic search is a real strength of ours, and it's happened in a short space of time. We're highly competitive for some of these really important categories. So compostable packaging, eco-friendly packaging, sustainable packaging. They're all areas that we've risen quite rapidly in. And you can even look at our domain rating of 44. We have a lot of press, a lot of really high quality websites that link back to Heapsgood. And that is just driving this organic revenue and repeatable sort of income stream for the business. And it's really the foundation of any digital business. So we're really excited about continuing to grow this opportunity, particularly when we bring in copy and content, and also explore other marketing avenues that we haven't been able to yet. There's just so much potential here. And here's the really high level business highlights.
Yeah, some of the nitty gritty, which will be in the prospectus and will be there later, but we'll just give you a brief outline, and there'll be more in the offer document in 7 days or 6 days now.
For sure. So yeah, really strong revenue growth. We've acquired over 15,000 customers, generated 1.3 million in the last calendar year. And yeah, that 530% growth rate. I wouldn't expect to maintain that. We'll show you projections in a moment, but
although
there's a lot of room to grow here. Like, as I said, it's only been the 4 of us that have been working on Heapsgood, and we've been able to achieve these kind of numbers today.
Yeah, and look, you can't see what's going on from January onwards, but I just want to touch on that as well, because we have seen incredible growth above 400%, where if you can see we're sort of doing sitting above 100 for January now, and we're sitting in the 25-30 range in 2021. So that growth has continued on, and we're looking forward to sort of continuing that similar growth for the next quarter.
Yeah. And just a little bar chart, very useful to just see the repeat revenue growth as a percentage of overall revenue. Customers are returning. If you look at our reviews on our products, we know there's the makings of a sustainable business excuse the pun. And that's just, how we see it. We want to provide a really good customer experience. We want people to love the brand and know that we're there to support them and help them grow. That's, really central to
help them grow. And look, I think we're all in this together. So if we can make a difference and actually change e-commerce and do it together, that's really our aim. We think we can all grow and succeed together. What does the future look like if you were to come on board with us? How can we continue to grow this brand together and make an impact on this issue? Well, there's 3 areas that we really want to invest money and time into. The first is talent. Definitely.
We know that people are the things that drive successful businesses, and to date we've done all of this with just 4 people. And the exciting opportunity for us is just to fill in the gaps in the marketing team and operations and to scale this company properly. We think Heapsgood's a really attractive place to work. One, because of our mission and the fact that we are a purpose-led company, but also just the fact that we're trying to be best practice in everything we do. So it's a great place for people to learn how to do e-commerce properly. And touching on that talent side of things, we haven't even explored direct sales, and that's a huge avenue for us to really grow the business. So on top of content and marketing, we would look to hire somebody in direct sales and really sort of start pushing that side of things as well. Definitely, and that leads to product, I guess.
Definitely. So look, that's my area. So we've got a lot of products that we're working on, a lot of things that are going to come out in the next few months. Also going to keep expanding on the range. So obviously we have eco stickers and we want to make different shapes and different sizes and keep expanding on the box sizes. Bubble mailers will be coming out, and a bunch of other things that we're working on. And look, potentially some verticals that we're not even in at the moment. I mean, we see ourselves as currently an e-commerce packaging company, but on the whole, we want to be an e-commerce company. And that really excites me because I can see a lot of different areas that we can go into, and they're at the back of my mind and things that we're working on for sure.
Yeah. And then the third one is expansion. We've already researched a key market we want to move into. We can tell you now that it's the United States. We've done our keyword research, we've done our social media analysis. We know that there's a demand for products there, but it's not being met. And we just think there's a great opportunity also. And then, you probably want to touch on this.
Customer rewards are really exciting, and it's something that we want to be able to sort of give back to all of our members and people who are part of this journey with us. So we're going to go into more depth with this in the offer document and the prospectus as well. But this is a little brief outline on what you'd get for your investment and what sort of discount you'd be getting. And that would be a lifetime discount as well. So some value there if you're already a customer.
And then we're on to questions. I'm not sure how this process works, Claire, but
over to you.
You've just jumped in. All right.
No dramas. So what I might do is get you guys to stop sharing your screen and back to us. So that was a great presentation. Thank you so much. Anyone, if you've got some questions, please pop them in the Q&A box below. And I can kick off with some initial questions from the crowd that have been emailed through to me. One of the questions that have come up first and foremost is, what are the key challenges that you see in the business to date, and how do you overcome them?
Look, I mean, I think even just COVID was a huge challenge for us. Starting a business during those times, supply and logistics, the increased costs that came with all of those things in freight. So we've navigated that pretty well. It's always going to be a challenge. I think I have a really strong supply, so it shouldn't be something that it is an issue, but we certainly dealt with major challenges in the last year, and I think on that front at least things will be better. I guess you might have some other areas you want to touch on.
I found that one of the biggest challenges companies face in e-commerce and other industries is actually finding the right people to join the company. So we need to find talent that's the right culture fit, that believes in our mission, and also can execute in the industry. There needs to be an emphasis on best practices, on collaborating, and ultimately delivering results. So I think one of the emphases for us moving forward is, how do we attract high quality talent, and then how do we translate that to business success? And so my focus will be on building a really great team and doing that. And so I think that's one of the challenges. we kind of operate a bit in a vacuum at the moment with regards to competition, just because we have been quite innovative with product sourcing and how we've approached product design. We just feel like we know what our next steps are with product. And so we don't see it so much as a challenge because there's a clear product roadmap for us. And so we have the vision and the strategy set. It's like, where's the execution? The execution is making sure we can get those products and making sure we have a team that can deliver. And that will be our focus and our challenge.
Amazing. A question has come through about your customers and customers moving forward. The question is, thank you for the presentation. Have you had any thoughts about bulk purchases from potential customers? Do you know what your current maximum supply quantities would be and what you're aiming for?
Yeah, look, definitely. And I think that's a really important question. We've definitely struggled to sort of get some of those really large businesses, whether they're government contracts or, general parents co or things like that. And that was simply a matter of us not having the funding to be able to do so. So I think in the future, we'll definitely be going after some of those really, really large clients and trying to get some of those on board as well. And
the warehousing too. It's virtually impossible with the warehousing size. Like we're packed to the rafters here. So it would also require a larger warehouse where we can store that stock for potential clients like General Pants. We've had a number of others.
And I think, sorry, I'll just interrupt. Yeah. We also have just started implementing a wholesale system. Now, we are B2B, but what the wholesale system sort of entails is for those larger clients so that they can come on the website, do all of the shopping in the same process, but it's a different back end. So we've been building that out and then we've slowly been rolling it out and testing it in the last couple of months. And I think clients like that could potentially come onto that platform as well, for sure.
Amazing. The questions are coming in thick and fast.
Awesome. Keep them coming, guys. Appreciate it.
Do you have any products that are not made in Australia?
It's a great question. So 2 of our products are not made in Australia. And in the past, it was probably more like 4 or 5. We've managed to bring those ones back to Australia. That's a real focus for me anyway, in sort of being, I guess, in charge of product and sourcing. So definitely something we'll continue to look to do in the future and bring as much back home as possible.
Amazing. Just as a reminder for everyone who's tuning in, I love all the questions that are coming through. Please, if you've put a question in the chat, can you move it over to the Q&A box just so we can go through it fairly and answer the questions as they're coming in. The next question that I'm going to ask is, it's a comment and a question. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Can customers co-brand on Heapsgood packaging?
Would you like to take on? Can they co-brand? Look, they definitely can. And that's another area. When I started talking about direct sales, I think to do direct sales, well, these are the sort of clients who are looking at 50,000 plus. They are going to be custom clients. Now, we can definitely offer them Heapsgood bags. We can probably offer them at potentially a cheaper price because we do have that purchasing power. But that's a real avenue of growth and something we've done a little bit of, but nowhere near as much as we plan to do in the future.
Amazing. A few questions have come through about your competitors.
Yes.
There are concerns that maybe Officeworks, a major Australian retailer, for anyone who's tuning in from overseas, will move into this space, and questions about competition in this area and how you intend to compete.
It's interesting with Officeworks and companies like that. We've had overtures from them and we are in discussion. They're nowhere near adding those products to the range themselves. They would almost be getting them through us. Now, whether we end up going down that path or not, it's an interesting one. There definitely is some competition. I guess you can talk about some of the other online competition potentially.
Yeah, I think even from a product standpoint, though, I mean, in many cases, we've been first to market with, various offerings. Won't go into details. And there's the potential to copy those products. But I think, one of the things we'll really invest in going forward is research and development, doing proper product design. Eventually, you can move into patents and stuff like that. But I think it's really being ahead of the curve and being innovative. And from a product standpoint, we've already been able to achieve that with very little resource. So I think moving forward, that's a really big opportunity. On the digital marketing side, I mean, you just have to look at our creative and branding, compare that to, behemoths like Officeworks or any of our competitors really. And it's chalk and cheese. We're very different. We're able to differentiate through creativity, through branding, but also I think going forward, we're going to try to be more purpose-led, and that means,
definitely, it's a huge focus.
Aligning ourselves with causes and initiatives that we think, fit with our brand values. And that's something that an Officeworks is never going to do. And certainly some of our competitors, I just don't see them moving in that direction, to be honest. So yeah, I think there's just so many areas to differentiate. We've also said we want to be an e-commerce brand or a sustainable e-commerce brand, not a packaging company. So we won't be Heapsgood Packaging. We're going to be Heapsgood. And we already know what that looks like. We're not going to share it publicly, but we can tell you it's very exciting.
And a question that I have is around your key customers, and maybe you don't want to share this because it's commercially sensitive, and that's absolutely fine if you touch upon it more in the offer document. Do you find that the majority of your customers are maybe, let's say, people like me who are selling secondhand clothes online and trying to get stuff out, and maybe I need a package of 5 mailers? Or are you finding that, you know, quite a lot of your clientele are very large brands that or sellers?
Yeah. I'll touch on that. We have a wonderful mix from really small clients to really, really large clients. So it has been a really interesting spread, and everything in between. I think that the commonality there would be that they are e-commerce people. That's probably the main thing. But yeah, definitely very, very mixed.
And the industry generated, I think, $50.46 billion in merchandise trade in 2021. So it's a huge industry that we're tackling here. That's
total, Australia alone.
The total addressable market is significant. So yes, we have people starting their first e-commerce brands, and many of them buy, for example, the TSC printer, and we give them the tools to start their business, because you have to start from somewhere, just like us in Adam's living room. We are always there to support those brands. But at the same time, we have some really big clients. And in the future, as we said, with a larger warehouse and more inventory, well, we can really take on some of those bigger contracts too. So I think it's just a combination. We want to help the entire e-commerce industry become sustainable, whether it's a small merchant or, a general pants. So I guess that's where we see it, definitely.
And a question's come through about patents. One investor has asked that you mentioned patents before, and are any of your products patented? If not, why are the reasons that they're not? I can imagine it's a very expensive process to patent or get IP onto a product, but can you shed a little bit more light on that and your thoughts about that moving forwards?
Sure.
Yeah, I think in the future, we'll focus more on design and development. There'll be you'll have more capital to invest in what is a very expensive process. And that is, I don't think it's something that we would really have the capacity to explore in the first 2 years of operation. We're a profitable business, but at the same time, that's something that you would look to do. I think years 4, 5, 6 is where we're going to look at IP and how we can protect that in a legal sense. Yeah.
Oh, we lost you, Claire. You're on mute.
Oh no.
Claire, you're on mute, and then tells me to press my space bar, and
it happens.
Another question that's come through is, can you confirm that the compostable materials meet all of the relevant Australian ISO standards for commercial composting?
Yes, most certainly they are accredited. And yeah, we have all of the standards and testing right down to some worm toxicity reports and everything like that. So yeah, they're certified home compostable and also industrially compostable.
And if there's somewhere we can have that in the Birchal platform, or
yeah,
if anyone wants to contact us, but if we can put it somewhere, we'd love to.
But alternatively, look, anybody is welcome to email me, and it's just adam@heapsgoodpackaging.com.au, and I'd be happy to send any of that documents across and providing info.
Maybe we'll update one of the pictures so it's like this is compostable, and make it very, very clear in there as well.
Absolutely.
So another question that's come through is that it is very common when a company expands, the brand becomes less personal. This is an appeal of Heapsgood. So how are you going to keep that personal element to the brand?
Awesome question. Yeah.
4 of you cannot stretch yourselves.
I love that. I think, look, having a copywriter full time is going to be a massive gain for us, because we've been writing copy and trying to put out content it's been very, very difficult.
Yeah. I think that's a point. Yeah, having the personal one-to-one communications is really critical. We'll continue to invest in customer experience, and we have a local. I mean, at the moment, it's Adam and Astrid that handle most of the customer service, but customer experience will be a big focus for us. I think the other thing is, we're not using third-party logistics, so we still have a personal connection with all of our customers because we're literally shipping the product out. And most of our competitors don't have that. So I think the emphasis will be to maintain this first party experience where we have our own warehouse for dispatch.
I mean, look, I think we've built our community on customer service because for me, I come from a background of like the customer's always right. We want to support our customers. Yeah. Like, doesn't matter what the situation is, we're there for you. Yeah. You know, whether it's walking through a printer installation, whatever it is. So for me, whenever I'm building like any business, or it's always at the top of my mind, and I'm going to be always going over replies, even if we have a customer service agent, and checking the procedures, and it's really important for me. So I really want to keep that close, small feel and continue that. Yeah.
He's fairly obsessive, like really.
Just a little bit.
I've noticed that myself. You know,
when it comes to customer service.
Amazing. A great question has come through, and another comment about it being a great presentation, and it was indeed a great presentation.
Thank you.
What do you guys see? You've touched on it a little bit. Do you see any other key? We've talked about challenges. What is another key business risk that you see to achieve the revenue that you've spoken about in today's session?
I mean, look, I guess the global situation is always something that I'm very conscious of. So we're always looking at that, and that might, mean that the American market might not be the right option in 3 months when we sort of do make that move. But look, we'll assess all of those things. Did you have anything?
I think, the local suppliers are becoming increasingly important. I think in the case of Australia, bringing back as much of our product to Australia, it makes a lot of sense. It's not actually the most labor-intensive process. So from a manufacturing standpoint,
on some of our products,
many of our products can be made in Australia. So I think from a supply chain risk standpoint, that will be an important move for us. And touching on America, that would also be something we would look at there. So it would be working with local suppliers rather than relying on some, obviously there's issues with China and other countries at the moment. We don't really have a reliance on them, which is a positive thing. And so I think, the emphasis is local distribution rather than looking overseas.
Which actually brings me to another question, which you may or may not have probably touched on in that answer, but a question has come through about getting the about the impacts of going to overseas markets and the impacts that will have on shipping, transport, and the environmental impacts.
Absolutely. Look, I'd love to touch on that one. So I think, and it is definitely something that I spoke about, bringing manufacturing back and doing it locally. America, I mean, that's such a huge market. The advantages there's a lot of the suppliers or a lot of the products and factories that we're already buying products from here over there. So we could potentially look at, doing it that way. And I think that mitigates a lot of those risks and makes things a lot easier if you're talking about, carbon and shipping and things like that. So that would be definitely, look, it's already something that I'm looking at. I've already made a lot of strategic partnerships or had conversations with companies over there and factories that have products that unfortunately can't even get here because they're too far away, but would be really nice in the product suite over there.
And then for the other products, I think you have to build offsets into the unit economics of importation. So I think we need it, especially when we're more resourced and we have the capital to do so. It has to be about, it ties in that philosophy of leaving it better than we found it.
Definitely.
There's negative externalities that are created, just like when you're importing products from another country. And so if we can address those and factor them into the unit economics and find a way, whether obviously the obvious one is planting trees, but there are other methods coming out. So
we'll look at proper life cycle assessments, which are fairly expensive. We started looking at them already. We're doing it on one product at the moment, but it is costly. So that's the way for us to really sort of work out the nitty gritty of that stuff and then work out ways to offset any of the negatives. Because as I said, we don't have a perfect product for a single use product. It just doesn't exist. So It's about making sure that we have the best ones and then offsetting that in any way possible. Correct.
And on your products, cost comparison wise to, let's say, a mailer from Oz Post or the standard packaging that people tend to use when they're in a rush and they're just buying something for convenience. Does it cost a lot extra to use your products, or is it fairly comparable?
Look, it's fairly comparable when we're talking cents, not dollars. It's really not a huge cost, and most of the brands are passing that on to consumers or absorbing themselves. And I actually say most of them are absorbing themselves, not passing it on to consumers, because it is, you're talking 5 cents, 10 cents, 15 cents on a product cost that might be $50 or $100. So it's fairly minimal.
And then the flow-on effect is, if you think about your customer retention rate, that there's like a study, it's like 1 in 4
one
millennials.
in 4 millennials are more likely to buy it from a brand that uses sustainable packaging, and that's I was post e-commerce statistic from one of their recent reports that I think is really valuable in sort of this discussion.
So if you want to increase customer loyalty, it's a no-brainer moving to sustainable packaging, and offsets that cost. And really, you're looking at customer lifetime value there. It's like how many times do you want a customer to purchase from you? And I know that I factor that into my decision making when I'm purchasing a product online.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because obviously during COVID, I did a little bit of online shopping too, and every time I'd get something made of a compostable mailer, I'd be like, "Yay, this is great!" And then
Cool.
like from the Iconic, I'd be like, "Boo, horrible."
Yeah, right. We tried the Iconic. It was a really interesting one with that discussion, but we'll get them next time. I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, exactly. Look, and someone's asked a question, and I know this is a sort of a key theme, and people are keen to know a bit more about it. And this really comes back to competitors. So this particular investor has asked a question, and she says that, "I know we have talked about potential competitors, but there are many, many current compostable packaging companies such as Hero Packaging that also hope to grow, and they've just entered the US and Canadian markets. So how does Heapsgood plan to be different?"
Well, the main thing is that we're focusing on e-commerce. We're not just focusing on mailers. We have shown, great product leadership over the journey. So we're always first to market with products, not the other way around. And I think that shows, and then also just you have to look at our ad creative, our marketing, our the work we do in our customer experience. We have just a lot of product, process, and marketing differentiation that it becomes apparent if you compare us with any of our competitors.
What I'd like to touch on, because obviously there is no issue, there's Better and there's Hero, that are probably the major plays in the digital sphere. And I think for us, we've been around for a lot less time than them. Most of them have been around for 3 to 4 years. We have grown at a rapid rate, and we have grown at that rapid rate and taken a lot of their market share because of all of these strategies that Ace is talking about. So I think that will continue to happen, and I think that's our real strength and point of difference, and keeping sort of on that path.
On that path, focusing on talent and team and product.
And e-commerce as a whole, as I said, like for me, that's so exciting. It's like e-commerce is such a huge market that's not really being serviced by anybody specifically, and that's where I see us. Yeah.
Maybe I see a collaboration with Shopify in the future, potentially. Imagine that.
Please, we're welcoming.
We're quite close to Shopify. I know a few people there.
Maybe some apps in the future.
Yeah, amazing. It's like, shush, don't give all the secrets away. A question that actually did come through the chat, which, usually I'm a real stickler on the Q&A, but it is actually, I think, quite a good comment. And one person has sent a message about a major issue being plastic netting used to pack citrus or vegetables in the supermarket. I know you've just said that you focus on e-commerce, but this person does want to ask that because netting is such a wildlife, would your honeycomb wrap be suitable for this purpose? Would that be something you'd look to go into in sort of like the deep supply chain issues that are in?
We get a lot of questions about that stuff, other markets, and like, I guess for us, the takeaway containers is such a massive problem. But in regards to the netting, the compostable mailers probably wouldn't be strong enough if they had holes in them, because I think that they need to have like a netted sort of vibe. So I think that probably wouldn't work with that particular product. But look, there's definitely alternatives and things that we could look at. And it's, I guess the focus is e-commerce, but there is so many other things that really bother us that we'd, love to look at in the future. But for now,
we need to have a focus strategy at the moment. But there's just so many problems when it comes to the existing packaging in the market. As Adam touched on, takeaway food packaging is just an absolute disaster right now. I think the move to keep cups when we have so many coffees is a really smart move. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. So I think it's something we might turn our attention to in the future. As we said, we have a few verticals that we're interested in. They're still aligned with e-commerce for now, but it's not something that we're not aware of and care about.
Yeah, fantastic. So we've got 2 sort of questions left from the crowd, which again are about competitors and comparables, and some of the competitors that you might find over in the US.
Sure.
If you'd like to touch upon that with the US competitors, I think that'd be good to do so. But then otherwise, I imagine a lot of information will be again, including the offer document about how you see yourselves being different and what your unique market property is. But just if you could touch upon the US as a market more broadly, I'm sure investors would find that really interesting.
Well, interestingly enough, this movement towards sustainable packaging and e-commerce started in Australia and New Zealand. So,
I mean, we're definitely at the forefront. It's consumer driven, and which
is unique. And so, whether you're looking at composting standards or, some innovation in the space, it's come largely from Australia and New Zealand. So when you look at America, I mean, the competitive landscape, there's not much going on there. We know the demand exists. As I said, I touched on the keyword research we've done, so we know there's search volume.
Plus, this is a huge market.
It's a large market, no doubt. And even if you look at a large company like Amazon, many of the brands are white labeling, and they're not using Amazon packaging because they need to control their brand experience in order to increase the repeat customer rate. So we think that there's just a great opportunity because there's product market fit, there's existing demand, and there's no businesses really meeting that demand. And any of the ones that are, they're so far behind us, and we're just getting started. So we're not really concerned.
Amazing. I do notice that there's a attendee here, Sarah, that you've got your hand raised. If that is an accident, that's okay. Oh, got two people with their hand raised.
Yep.
If you've got your hand raised and you'd like to ask a question, just pop it in the Q&A box for me, and then we can ask your question. What I might move to now is to talk a little bit more about the investment opportunity on Birchal and how it works, because for many people coming to campaigns like this, it is their first time investing through an equity crowdfunding platform. So I just want to run through a little bit about the process and what you need to know from here. So let's say, you've come to this webinar and this information session, you're excited about investing in Heapsgood. Please make sure you have expressed interest in their campaign on Birchal if you haven't already done so via www.birchal.com/company/Heapsgood packaging, because by expressing interest in the campaign, you're on the wait list to be the first to know when their investment opportunity goes live. Now, the investment opportunity is open to everyone within Australia. International investors can invest in these campaigns, but they do need to make sure that it is permissible to invest from the tax jurisdiction that they are in. So please check that with a local tax authority before you invest in an Australian entity. And anyone through the Birchal platform can invest up to 10,000 Australian dollars per campaign. If you would like to invest more than $10,000 in Heapsgood, you would just need to get a certificate from your accountant certifying that you are known as what's called a wholesale or sophisticated investor. And we do have a little more information about that on our website. Or if you do want to get that certificate from us, that template, just shoot us an email at support@Birchal or the little help chat bot on our home page or every page as well. In terms of investing through Birchal, you can invest as an individual, as a company, through a trust, or as a self-managed super fund. All the options are available. And again, if you do have questions on that, let us know, or head through some of the guides on our help article. That's sort of all the boring robotic things out of the way. But in terms of then how the investment process actually works and what happens next. So the Heapsgood team have got their EOI campaign running for another week, for a bit. And what we are doing at the moment with Birchal in the back end is that we are reviewing the offer document and all the key details that we need to host their investment on our platform. So we're in discussions and talks with the Heapsgood team at the moment and making sure that we're getting all that ship shape and ready to present to investors. And once that process is complete, we will be able to set the offer campaign, the main campaign, live on the Birchal platform. And if you've expressed interest in the Heapsgood packaging, they will be sending you email updates, and you'll also get an email update from Birchal when that live date and when the offer date is set to go live. And at that time, you'll be able to get access to the company offer document, which has all the investment details and everything you need to know, including the most recently completed months of financial statements for Heapsgood packaging. You'll get access to their company constitution, so you can read all about how the company plans to be managed moving forward, and rights associated with your shares, and a little bit more detail there. And you'll also get information about the subscription agreement, which is subscribing for the shares and becoming a co-owner in Heapsgood. At the time of your investment, you'll also need to have a form of ID so we can check who you are to approve your investment. That's a long-winded way of saying that's how these campaigns work. And the EOI list does get first access to the campaign. And if it doesn't sell out from the EOI list, it does then go out to the public and they are able to invest as well. Please note, though, that the investment terms do not change whether you're, an EOI versus member of the public. It is the same terms for anyone who invests in the campaign through Birchal. But the benefit of being an expression of interest and then investing early in the campaign is that then you don't miss out. We have had a couple of campaigns recently that have gone live and they have sold out in a matter of hours or a matter of days, and then there are no more shares left to issue. So that's a good reason to be on the EOI list and learn a little bit more. But I think that probably brings us to the end of today's session, unless anyone's got any further questions for the Heapsgood team before we go. We have recorded today's session, as we mentioned, so we will be sending around a recording to everyone who's attended and the EOI list as well. And if you have any more questions about Birchal, the investment process, what you need and how the whole process works, please do reach out to support at Birchal or the help guide on our chatbot. But otherwise, I know if you've got any questions about the investment opportunity, Heapsgood, competitors, risks, all this kind of thing, I'll pass it to the Heapsgood guys. And
yeah, reach out to me. You can definitely get me at adam@heapsgoodpackaging.com.au. Alternatively, I am more than happy to take phone calls. So 0401 188 737 anytime. Call me, email me, any questions.
Sounds like an infomercial.
Doesn't it sound like information? Steak knives. Totally open to chatting to anybody, and enjoyed the conversation so far. I've been speaking to a lot of our members, and it's been a lot of fun.
Amazing. Well, on that note, I might wrap up today's session. Thank you again so much for both of your attendance and your excellent presentation, and for everyone who joined us today. I'll pass over to you guys to sign off, and we'll wrap up.
Thank you to everyone, and thank you, Claire, for putting this together. And really appreciate all your support.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Amazing. Thanks so much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
See ya. Have a great week.